Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're taking a real look under the hood of ChatGPT. I mean, everybody's talking about it, but a massive new study has finally peeled back the curtain to show us how millions of people are actually using it. And let me tell you, some of the findings are not at all what you'd expect.
Okay, first, let's just try to wrap our heads around the sheer scale we're dealing with. ChatGPT has somewhere around 700 million weekly active users. Now, to put that into perspective, that's more than the entire adult population of North America using this one tool every single week. It's a global phenomenon like we've never seen before.
So that leads to the million-dollar question, right? What on earth are all those people typing into that little box? We hear all the hype, all the speculation, but very few people have actually seen the data on what millions of daily conversations with an AI really look like. Well, until now.
All right, so let's dive right in and tackle the first big myth. If you ask most people what ChatGPT is for, chances are you're going to hear all about work and productivity. It's almost always framed as the ultimate professional assistant.
I mean, when you hear people talk about it, the conversation is always dominated by these professional tasks, right? Drafting emails, debugging code, summarizing those super long reports, generating marketing copy. The common assumption, the big story, is that this is a tool to make us better and faster at our jobs.
But is that perception even close to reality? Well, the National Bureau of Economic Research took a deep dive into millions and millions of these conversations to find out for real. And what they discovered, it's probably going to change how you think about this technology.
And here it is, the first major surprise. And this one completely flips the script. The vast majority of ChatGPT usage, we're talking around 70%, has absolutely nothing to do with paid work. Its primary use isn't professional at all. It's personal.
And listen, this isn't just a snapshot in time. This trend is accelerating and fast. Just a year ago, non-work use was sitting at around 53%. It has since exploded to over 70%. It turns out people are finding way more ways to weave this into their personal lives than their work lives.
Okay, so if it's not all about work, then what are the main things people are using it for? Well, the study was able to break down nearly 80% of all the conversations into three massive dominant categories.
So here they are, the big three. First up, practical guidance. You can think of this as a tutor, a how-to guide for fixing something, or even a creative brainstorming partner. Next, seeking information. This is basically people using it as a supercharged search engine to get answers. And finally, number three is writing, which covers everything from drafting an email to, more importantly, editing and summarizing text someone has already written.
Now, if we zoom in on that writing category, things get really fascinating. Because while it is the #1 use case at work, it's not being used like a content factory. Check this out. About 2/3 of the time, people aren't asking it to write something for them. Nope, they're giving it their own text and asking it to edit, critique, or summarize it. They're using it to sharpen their own thinking.
And this brings us to another huge myth that just got, well, completely busted. The idea that ChatGPT is mainly a tool for coders. And yeah, it can be a programmer's best friend, but the data shows computer programming accounts for only 4.2% of all messages. It's a powerful niche for sure, but it is nowhere near the main event.
The study also gives us this incredible look at who is using the tool and how that has changed so dramatically since it first launched. Let's just say the typical user isn't so typical anymore.
Just take a look at this. It's pretty incredible. Right after launch, the user base was overwhelmingly male, about 80%. But as of today, that gap has slammed shut. Users with typically feminine names have not only reached parity, but they now slightly outnumber users with typically masculine names.
And this isn't just a story about the developed world either. The data clearly shows that ChatGPT adoption is actually growing the fastest in low and middle-income countries. This thing is going global at an unbelievable speed, completely correcting that old assumption that it's just a tool for wealthy nations.
So, when you put all these pieces together, the fact that it's mostly personal, the focus on editing, not just creating, the incredible global spread, a whole new picture starts to emerge. And it all points to the core insight of the entire study, what people are really getting out of this AI.
The researchers came up with this really brilliant way to think about what users want. They call it asking versus doing. Doing is when you want the AI to perform a task for you. Write this code, draft this email. It's automation. But asking is totally different. That's when you use the AI for information or advice to help you make a better decision. It's decision support.
So, which one do you think is winning? Well, the data is crystal clear. Asking for advice isn't just more common, it's also growing much faster than doing a task. People are increasingly turning to the AI as a thought partner, a collaborator, to help them think through complex problems. And get this, the data also shows that users consistently rate these asking conversations as being higher quality.
And this is where it gets really interesting for the economy. The study found that at work, it's the most highly educated professionals who are the most likely to use ChatGPT for this asking behavior. So, the experts, they're not using it to automate their jobs, they're using it to augment their own expertise to help them make better, more informed decisions.
And this leads us right to the core conclusion of the entire research paper. The greatest economic value of this technology isn't as a coworker that replaces what we do, but as a co-pilot that enhances our judgment, especially in those really complex knowledge-based jobs.
And that leaves all of us with a really huge question to chew on, doesn't it? We've spent so much time and energy worrying about AI automating the things we do. But what if its true power, its greatest value, isn't helping us think better? What does that mean for the future of work? What skills are going to matter most when anyone can have an expert co-pilot right in their pocket? Definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.